I don't know about you, but I'm really happy I made it through the week. I have like, it's been a doozy of a week for me. So just shameless plug here for our career fair. It is on March 20th in the UC Ballroom from 12 to 4 p.m. It is your opportunity to start networking with employers. If you're not looking for an internship now or a job now, that's okay. Go anyway and start meeting people and putting your face in front of them and practicing your elevator pitch and all that good stuff. I will be back in another workshop with you guys to talk about your elevator pitch, but I know this is on your syllabus. I just need to remind you the importance of getting out there, putting yourself out there, and just feeling really confident about introducing yourself to people, because I'm sure you've heard the expression, it's not what you know, but who you know that gets you in the door. It's really what you know that keeps you there, but making that first right impression and connection with someone can be the game changer for you in your future. So please make note of this, and I will be there, and we will expect students to wear professional attire. So again, if you need professional attire and you want to take advantage of Suit Yourself, the deadline for Suit Yourself is this coming Monday, the 4th. So that's the opportunity, in case some of you are looking at me like, Suit Yourself? So let me tell you. I talked about it last time I was here. It's the opportunity for you to work with us and go to JCPenney, get a $150 free gift card. It's needs-based, so Pell eligible students usually are accepted first, and we help you find professional attire. We walk you through the process. There's people helping measure your collar if you don't know your collar size, and telling you, like, this looks good, that doesn't look good, and we're really strict about it. You can buy with that. But we want our tigers to be prepared for their future opportunities, and what you look like matters, right? How you're dressing, how you're presenting yourself professionally matters. And so I'm really impressed to see some students in suits today. Well done. You'll need your professional resume for this as well. So pay close attention to my workshop today, because it'll really help you out. And I will say, as a disclaimer, I just love working on resumes. It's my thing. And I get really excited and passionate about this topic. So if at any time I'm speaking in my New York pace and just really amped up about it and going too fast, it's okay to tell me to slow down, because I know I'm excited about this topic. It's a weird thing. It's my thing. It's what I make a living doing. So here we go. Resumes on point. You're going to learn a whole lot. These are our objectives. You've seen these before. These are our student leadership and professional competencies, right? That we're going to be focusing on learning and reasoning, professional and strategic planning, communication and digital technology, self-awareness, and personal behavior. We want you to own these competencies and master them, right? For today's presentation, I'm going to be focusing on your ability to plan, prioritize, and manage your work, articulate your strengths, knowledge, and experiences, and how they relate to your professional goals. That's big time in a resume, just so you know. Your learning and reasoning, I want you to know how to research and analyze information effectively. To be honest, the best way to write the best targeted resume is to have the job description for the job that you're applying for in front of you. That's the best way to do it. You're doing your research, and then you're creating a targeted resume, highlighting the transferable skills that you have from different experiences to really get to land that job that you want. So there's some research involved. We want you to be able to identify and examine problems and formulate appropriate solutions. You're going to get stuck at times. It's okay, but you got to get through it, right? Communication and digital technology. This is really focusing on the written communication here. Your resume is like a calling card. It's like, hey, take a look at me. I'm a good candidate. Okay, so we're focusing mainly on written communication. Although in the hiring process, verbal and nonverbal communication really does come into play too, but right today, it's strictly resumes. We want you to know how to use various forms of technology and use them to solve problems, complete tasks, and achieve goals. One of those technologies that you will be utilizing is TigerLink as a software that I use to revise your resume. So I know Leah has presented her resume already. I have seen Darius's via TigerLink before. I know Elizabeth too we've gone through this process. But that's this platform and the system that I will be using to receive your resumes, edit them, send you back responses. You'll probably have to do it more than once because a resume is never one and done. Okay, even our graduate students, like it will go back and forth a couple times to get the master kind of marketing tool piece that we want, because that's what a resume is. It's a marketing tool. Next, with self-awareness and personal behavior, really value the feedback as it contributes to your own development, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be hard on you. I have your best interests at heart, so don't take it like I'm just being mean. Like, don't take it personally. I'm giving you constructive criticism, and I want you to take that and move forward with it. I want you to be able to make decisions and act accordingly in the face of ambiguity, and demonstrate resilience, accountability, and ethical behavior. With that, I do always point out, you can't lie on your resume and make up numbers and make up places that you worked. That's unethical behavior. Jobs will fire you for that. You know, you usually sign a statement saying that your application is said to be true and all that when you apply for companies. You have to be ethical. So we'll go over the resume basics, what makes a good resume, the formatting of resumes, sections to avoid, like things that you actually have to leave out in most cases, resources to assist you. I'm going to walk you through how to upload your resume and opt into the KWS resume book. And of course, I'm going to have you log this experience into your co-curricular transcript, because that's going to help you later on too. And I will say this with that co-curricular transcript. I have begun in my resume appointments to ask the students to pull up your co-curricular transcript first. And we'll start an appointment like that. When they actually have stuff there, whoa, does it make a different kind of appointment. I'm not pulling teeth. I have all this knowledge of stuff that you've done that I can help you put on your resume. It's pretty impressive to see how this is coming together and working. But if you're never logging the experiences in the first place, then I have nothing to work from. So that co-curricular transcript for me has been a game changer. Okay. So the purpose of your resume, it's an introduction of who you are. I said it before, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. It's a marketing piece about you. And so it has to be polished, it has to be together. It's the thing that can get you into an interview or invited to an interview, or just literally they just pass you by. How many seconds does it take for the first time when someone looks at your resume, the average amount of time? Does anyone know? It's about 30 seconds on average. So think about that, okay? They're looking at your resume and they're glancing over it. Sometimes it's fewer, because the minute they see one typo, one mistake, one misaligned date, something that just didn't pop, right? They move on to the next one. And I say this honestly because I used to have this job where I would get a stack of resumes in for this teaching fellows program that I was the selector for in New York City. And I had a stack of resumes to go through every day. And I had a yes pile, a no pile, and a maybe pile. And most of my maybes became no's, to be honest with you, because I had enough yeses for the interview slots that I had to fill. So I'm telling you, this one pager, you'll spend a lot of time doing it, and they may only look at it for 30 seconds, but if they like what they see, now they're spending 2.5 minutes. Now they're sending it to the department manager, hey, took a look at this person. Then it will be reviewed over and over again a lot more. So you don't want to waste time and energy on, well, you don't want to waste their time and energy, first of all, because if you make a simple mistake, you're wasting their time. Like, you're not going to be looking at that. I'm just being honest with you. Decisions are made kind of quickly, all right? But I'll also say that you don't want to, I believe in our Tiger talent. I believe that you guys can get the jobs that you want, but it's something simple sometimes. It's a simple mistake that you make on the resume that really pops you up. And it's sad to see when that happens, because I know that our students have what it takes to get these jobs, and then they don't get them, and then I'm like, what went wrong? So we're really trying to prepare you up. So that's the reaction you do not want when someone takes a look at your resume. Luckily, I've never had that expression, although I usually do this. Okay. So a resume is a summary of your qualifications. It's your education, your experience, your skills. I've talked about it being a marketing tool already. But you have to know the audience that's going to receive it. So it's different resumes for different industries, guys. Like a theater student, of course, is going to have a lot of personal information, height, weight, eye color, a photo. That's part of their resume. You guys don't have that. So you have to know the audience that's going to receive your resume, all right? You have to be prepared to spend ample time preparing your resume. When you submit these next week, via TigerLink, when you're ready for that step in your syllabus, just know that it's not, oh, let me bang out my resume in a half hour. It's gonna take more time than that. You might have to do some research, look back at dates where you used to work at different companies or internships you did, or if you're in RSOs, you might have to go back through your emails and see which RSOs that you were a part of, that you're no longer a part of. You're gonna have to do some research here. So 30 minutes to bang out a resume isn't enough, all right? If you're doing it within 30 minutes, I'm letting you know it's not gonna be good enough, right? It takes some time, all right? Now, I just wanna make sure that we're all clear the difference between a resume and a CV. Does anyone know what a CV is?
Cover letter?
Not a cover letter.
A curriculum vitae?
Yes, a curriculum vitae. And
Okay.
some people say vita. That's used mostly for academia. You can actually find a lot of samples of this on the KWS website. If you look under your instructors, most of them are posting it right there, and it's pages long. It literally means your life's work. So every article you've written, everything you've been published in, every conference you've ever been to. And I love Dr. Hutchinson's because it goes on and on and on and on. But it just shows the depth of his experience. A resume is something absolutely different. It's that quick, I have what it takes, you want me, invite me to an interview. So you cannot have more, you can't have that length that the curriculum vitae has, okay? What makes a good resume? The overall appearance and layout has to be easy to read. You should be using bullet points. Must be error-free, okay? Don't make it too jazzy. You'll see resume templates out there, and you'll be like, oh, let me use this wizard. And I'll talk about it a little bit more. Then it creates all sorts of issues on your resume. So sometimes those templates are what lead to the errors on your resume, just so you know. It has to use effective resume language. I have a cheat sheet for you that you're gonna love. It's called my key action verbs list. We use it in career services. We give you words, like when you're stuck on, what do I start my bullet point with, right? What's that first word? We want them to sound differently each time. We want them to be impactful, all right? So I have that for you. It's gonna have relevant content and include all the really important items, like your name, your phone number, your email, the schools you went to, your experiences, your employer names, okay? But there's some steps to this process. First, you've got to define your own career goals. You have to do that self-assessment. What do I want to do? What do I think I want to do? Some of you are still unsure because hospitality is so vast, right? There's tourism, there's attractions, there's hotels, there's restaurants. I mean, there's so many ways that you can go in hospitality. And that could be overwhelming. And one way to narrow that down is to do self-assessments and put yourself out there. Volunteer for something, see if you like it. Job shadow with someone, see if you like what they did, right? Or maybe get an internship with someone or a part-time job doing it. That's how you really find out, whether or not you're gonna like something. You have to just, the whole driven by doing, it's not just our tagline, you really gotta do it, okay? You're gonna gather information about your education and experience, and then you choose the layout and format that you like, that works, that conveys the information you want for your targeted industry. And I've really helped you out with that because I'm giving you a format that I have literally asked the employers that hire our students and come to career fairs, which format do you like? Give me some feedback. And they tell me, and so that's the one I give you to use, all right? So that step 3 is kind of easier for you. You have to build your resume, and then finally you have to have someone critique your resume. Take a look at it and give you feedback. That's what I'm here for. That's what career services is for. So I talk about this targeted resume. It is targeted to the job or industry that you want. So in the hospitality industry, they do want to see certifications, right? They do want to see some level of customer service, guest experiences. So that's going to have to be on there. And the great thing about this program is that it invests in you getting all these certifications. So once you get the certifications, update your resume with those certifications. So the CGSP certification, the CHIA certification, all these certifications through the AHLEI, the American Hotel Lodging Educational Institute, all right, that you guys get, those should all be on your resume. So if you've taken those classes, again, do the research, go back on your U of M degree, right? See if you've taken the classes, see if you've gotten the certificate or the email, and then put that certification on your resume. It takes some research for you. It can have multiple categories and experiences, and you have to use the most effective style. Again, I made it easy because I'm giving you the most effective style that I've gotten positive responses from our employers. Some students get overwhelmed and they're like, I can't fit it all on one page. I will say this, there is a current research going on, and all of us in career services are paying really close attention to it. What they've been doing is gathering data on different hiring managers' responses to 1-page or 2-page resumes. And right now, they're not showing that, they're not confining us to a 1-page resume. They're like, if someone gives a 2-page resume, we'll still take a look. And in fact, they did this case study at a recent conference where they collected all the hiring managers, HR reps in a room, they gave them all these different resumes, and they calculated how many would have been invited into an interview based on their resume. And more of the 2-page resumes were invited in. So we're staying on top of this. We're trying to figure out what do the hiring managers want, and then in the local market, I honestly ask our industry what they want. And around here, they're saying the average college student should have a 1-page resume. Now, a graduate student, someone who is older like myself, who's been around for a while and has had multiple experiences and has maybe a bit more to offer, of course a 2-page resume. There's no way I can fit the depth of my skill set on 1 page, right? So you have to know where you are, and I know we have mixed students. We have students who are your traditional fresh out of high school, went into college students, and then we have students who, took some time off, went to college, and now are coming back and, trying to finish their degree. So you have to decide for yourself how long you want your resume to be, okay? I'm not gonna hold it, be like, oh, you absolutely just 1 page, because now the data, the science is saying something different to us. So I'll let you know what it says to me when you submit it to me. If you can't fit it on 1 page and you're really trying to get it down on 1 page, use the trick of creating a 1/2-inch margin. Literally, it's going into Word, page layout, margins, click narrow, that's a 1/2 page. It's really easily done, okay? Some of you just use the 1-inch margin all the time because that's what your instructors expect on their, all the documents that you have to send them. But a resume can be different than that. So there are 2 formats. There's a reverse chronology, and then there's this functional or skills-based format. I've asked the employers for your industry in hospitality. They like the reverse chronology. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. All right? I'm just going to show you an example of a functional skills base just so you know what it's like, where you have experience, and the wording is just filler wording, but I'm just trying to show you how it's like experience, organizational planning, and then they just list the employments. But our employers are telling us they don't like this. They prefer the reverse chronology, where you start with the job or position you have right now and work your way back in time. Okay, so you see how it says September 2015 to present, and then we're going backwards from that to the experience. Are there any questions about that? Because I know I got a few resumes recently where you were like, oh, let me put my first job, and then you put your next job, and it was not in reverse chronology.
I don't know, that one just looks harder to read.
Okay, I'll tell you why it makes sense from the hiring manager's perspective. They're trying to easily find gaps in your employment. That's what it's about. So I could just see, okay, this is what they're doing now, this is where they got, okay, wait, why is there a gap here? And so if you're a student, gaps are easier to explain in most cases, because if you're in pursuit of a degree, maybe you would study abroad, maybe you did something else in that time. So that's why I have the students in our program definitely put your education at the top, because then it's clear to the employers that you're a student right now, okay? Or maybe you're a recent grad, and maybe that helps explain some of the gaps, right? So for style and appearance, 10 to 12 point font is good. Do not go beneath 10-point font. It's too hard to read. If it's hard to read when I have a stack, am I gonna read it? No, I'm gonna move on to the next one. Okay, when you're looking at a whole bunch of them on the screen over time, trust me, it's like, okay, click next, I gotta get through my stack, right? Times New Roman and Arial are standard fonts and easy to read and use, so pick one of those fonts. If you use bold, italics, and caps or underline, you have to use them consistently. And what I mean by that, say I put the University of Memphis in bold, right? And then I get to my experience section and I put the name of the company that I work for. That too should be in bold. Right? Say I put the job title that I had in italics. When I get to the next experience, that job title again has to be in italics. That's just attention to detail that you want to exhibit on your marketing piece. And I'll keep calling it a marketing piece because that's what it is. It's a marketing piece about you. Use bulleted statements with action-oriented verbs. So, reading resumes that say duties included and responsible for, it's painful. It's very passive. Everyone sounds alike. It's hard, I'm telling you, because I've looked at them, okay? So, when someone presents a resume with a bullet point and it says researched and developed, and that's how it starts, it's like, oh wait, I want to read this one. Or someone says strategized, or recruited what? I want to know more, right? Negotiated. That's all much more powerful language than responsible for. And I want you using different leading verbs on your resumes, right? That's why I give you the cheat sheet to make it easy, right? I talked about the half-inch margins or 1-inch margins. On a marketing piece, there's a nice balance of white space and text. It can't be all words. It can't be all white space. All right, so it's a marketing piece. It can be artistic in a sense, right? You want to have something, because I literally, when I interview people, I make notes on their resume. So if it's all full, jam-packed, and I have no space to write in, it makes it a little bit hard. But that's what most hiring managers do. They'll like make notations right on the resume, like, oh, ask about this in the interview, and they mark it up, okay? Especially if they like what they see. I want you to use neutral professional resume paper. I brought in some samples for you, and I'm gonna pass it out. I want you to grab the sample and hold it to the light, okay? This is resume paper. It feels differently. It has a different texture. Can you pass one back behind you? It has a different texture, it has a different weight, okay? Letter size, 20-pound weight, white ivory or light gray like this works, okay? When you hold it up to the light, what do you see?
More writing.
Yeah, so that's the company that printed this particular paper. That is called a watermark, right? Your resume should be presented, if you're going into an interview or going to a career fair, it should be presented on resume paper. And it's literally called resume paper. Like if you go to Office Max or Staples, the box says resume paper, okay? But that will stand out more than just regular copy paper. Yes?
So should we use that paper and give it to you when we do our resume?
Well, you're presenting yours digitally as a PDF to me.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter to have it like that for me. But when you go to the career fair, yes, have resume paper. Now for true Tiger talent that are in a bind sometimes, I have a pocket outside of my office on my bulletin board, and I usually try to keep a few sheets in there. Because sometimes you'll hear of a guest speaker coming to class, and you're like, oh, I really want to give that person my resume. I didn't have time. It's fine. I put the paper there for you for just those instances, because I get that you want to impress the guest speaker. They're coming from Caesars Entertainment. You really want to work in, you know, the casino world. Great. Use the paper. I'll help you out however I can. All right. Finally, if you present your cover letter and your resume as a packet in an interview, they must both be printed on the same kind of paper. Don't print your cover letter on copy paper and then print your resume. It looks weird. It's not good branding. All right, so pay attention to that kind of detail. And the last bit of detail that I will say is when you feed your printer with this paper, your printing, you know how we read from top to bottom, left to right, okay, in this country, all right? It should be printed the same way as that watermark. So you have to figure out how your printer feeds the paper, right? And how it's gonna be printed. So I usually, well, I know my printer now, but at first I would just practice on one sheet, you know, so I didn't mess up on my resume paper, because this paper costs a little more, right? So just pay attention to that a little bit, right? Because it does, I've looked at people and I'm like, oh, not enough attention to detail. You know, like I'm looking for the best people I can find, right? So that's why I'm letting you know this, right? Please remember the 3 C's when you're creating your resume. You have to have clarity, like be very clear. 30 seconds is what you got, right? You have to be consistent. Don't mix your categories, don't mix your fonts, don't mix your bolds and italics, right? Don't mix it up, be consistent. And concise, you want to summarize and highlight. You're not adding a bunch of fluff though. Like some students will create bullet points, and I can't make this up because of, you know, I would have never, like they'll just say the same thing in a different way each bullet point. And I'm like, well, why are you padding it? And I get some students who are just trying to reach the 3 bullet points. Like they just wanted to have that minimum requirement. But it should sound different. Each bullet point should have some kind of statement that you're making. And it's more about your accomplishments in the job. I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna try to make eye contact with each one of you because this is important to me. Each of those bullet points is an accomplishment. I got your eyes? Look up, thank you. Each of your bullet points is an accomplishment in the role. It's not a list of job duties. Right? So what were you good at in that job? Were you ever promoted? Did you ever earn any award in that job? Were you ever recognized for something? Did you lead to increased sales? That makes a difference. Because if all you're giving me is job duties because you're just trying to pad your resume with something to fill the space, it gets boring. I know what the job description reads for the average, you know, front desk clerk, for the average busser, waiter, you know, store manager. I know what those jobs are all about. Yes, Leah?
So I know from talking to my parents, typically you go back 10 years
Yes.
on a resume. For a college student, if we're putting in like 3 bullet points per each job, how far back we're supposed to go.
That is an excellent question. So college students, right now, I would allow you to put in a job like that was from maybe your junior or senior year of high school, because you probably don't have that much experience, right? But for me, I'm not trying to make myself sound older. So literally, when I get back to the 10 years, then I just start putting bullet points of my jobs without dates. I don't put the dates. I don't want them to think that I'm ancient. So, because age discrimination is a thing, alright? So that's an excellent question. So I will say this, do not put your high school name on your resume unless you're trying to go for a job at your high school or in that education market. You can put it on LinkedIn, but don't waste part of your valuable one-page marketing space on high school. You're young professionals now. So it's all grown-up stuff now, right? So don't put the high school on there. And I get that we're in Memphis, and Memphis is a bit different, where some of you went to really great private schools and you wanna note that. And that's a conversation we can have. Like, I had a student that was trying to get she was getting an events internship at one of actually it was Los Angeles, it was one of the private schools around here. She went to a private school. So we agreed that because she had that private school experience, for that targeted resume, because it was for that job, we were gonna put her high school just so that she can relate, that she knew what that experience was gonna be like. Right? But again, it was targeted to that job. I wouldn't have her put that for a job like the average corporate America job. It doesn't apply. Any questions about that? You have to decide based on your target whether you're gonna put certain information. So these are all the resume sections. Not all of them, I can probably think about 5 more, to be honest with you. Are you gonna put all of these on your resume? No, there's not gonna be enough space, all right? Don't do that, don't fall for that. Your contact information is an absolute must. Your education is an absolute must. Your experience, absolutely. And I'm being bold and going as far, and I need to update this, so it says skills in red. Skills are an absolute must. Based on the last career fair, every employer that I surveyed said we need to see tech skills on a resume. So if you are proficient in Microsoft Office suite, like the whole Microsoft Office suite, like which is PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Outlook, that's the suite of products. If you know Adobe Photoshop, InDesign, if you know Salesforce databases or Access, they want to see that. They are expecting to hire a technologically advanced candidate. They are not gonna teach you Microsoft Word, which is why you should take that MIS class that you have in Gen Ed, seriously. If you can get the Microsoft Office Expert certification in that MIS class, even better. Why? Because now that's something else you can put on your resume. Question?
So with like a Microsoft, would you put like QuickBooks or?
Yeah, you know QuickBooks, yes. And I know a lot of the software and some of the hardware too is like misspelled, like the name of the brand looks kind of weird. Like QuickBooks, it's like a capital B.
It's a Q and a B.
Yeah,
together.
Q and a B together. Put that little registered trademark symbol behind the word so that it doesn't look like a typo. Or in some cases, I have students put it in italics so that it stands out a little bit more, but so that it doesn't look like a typo. All right, there's my sports students have one software. Oh, it is called, it's for game editing, film editing, and it has a really weird spelling. So that's a trick we use. We look up, we make sure that it's a registered trademark, and then we register it on their resume, and it gets a spot. Okay. So here's a sample contact information, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this just because I do want you to know something. Here we have name, address line 1, address line 2, and then we have phone number and email. I am letting my students know that some companies and some hiring managers, I can't tell you which ones, copy and paste the full address, open it in Google Maps, pull up a picture of the home, and then decide whether or not they want to invite a candidate in. Alright? I personally and ethically can't know that and not tell you that. So there is a trend in resumes now where we're not putting the full address, because it could lead to discriminatory hiring practices, quite honestly.
So what do you put then?
So what we put, and literally on your resumes, you might want to consider doing, make your own call. Like if you know that there's, nothing to see, then hey, put the full address, right? But at minimum, have your name. If you live Memphis, Tennessee, that's it. No street address, no zip code, because even zip codes can give you a hint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put your phone number, put your email, and that's it. If you have a fabulous LinkedIn, put your LinkedIn. Right? If you don't have a fabulous LinkedIn, don't put your LinkedIn, because they're going to click on it. Okay? So, if you have a website that you've created, like a lot of my graphic design students, they have to have a website, like everything's an e-portfolio. So, they have to have that e-portfolio at the top. You guys are in hospitality, you don't have to have it. So this is tricky. Now the other things I'll point out on this slide are the simple mistakes the student made, right? They did MEM, they did an abbreviation, then they didn't even realize that they didn't capitalize the last time. Like little silly things that just haunt me all the time when I open these resumes. So I'm asking you not to haunt me anymore, all right? Don't make silly mistakes like this. Also, go with your memphis.edu email. It's professional, it's clean. You'll have it, I think, 6 months to a year after graduation until you join the alumni network, okay? Or if you have a very clean Gmail account, then use your Gmail account, right? I don't, like I've seen hot, whatever, superstar, this is absolutely unprofessional, okay? So don't give the wrong impression of who you are. And if you use your memphis.edu email, it's pretty like generic, right? Mine doesn't have any vowels, but whatever.
Me too.
Right?
It was
So,
really
yeah, that's
good.
what they did. Okay. Here's an example of how they save space, because if you choose to put your full address and it's like name, address line 1, address line 2, email, phone number, LinkedIn, it could take like a quarter of your page. But you need that marketing space. So in this example, they've gone across the top of the page, and they've just used this little divider, and that, I don't know if this has a pointer on it. You see that little divider thing right there?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the letter L or number 1 really big. That is literally a symbol. So if you go to insert on Microsoft, right, and then you go all the way to the top of that ruler bar at the top, you're going to see something that's called symbols. And you click on it and you search for that longer stick thing. And that's like a divider, a separator. That's how you can get it. Some people use bullet points, some people use little diamonds, whatever you want to do to divide it up, you can do that. Okay? And then the resume would start right under that line. Any questions about this trick? Okay. So objectives. This is completely optional, and I'm going to be really honest. At your level, in your career, don't have it, period. You don't need it. But if you were in education or you were in nursing, you have to have it. So our nursing students, our education students, absolutely a must. You guys just leave this section out, because all of you have the same sounding thing. To attain a position in a company that will allow me to use my skills and grow, or something to that effect. And they sound boring, because all of them sound the same. So just don't have one. Save the space. Right? I'm gonna give you an example of a good one and a bad one. If you did absolutely, you're like, no, I'm gonna just have one anyway, Marta, okay? An internship utilizing my skills in training. Everyone does that. Boring, right? A better way to say it would be an internship with Computer Sciences Corporation in computer programming. Okay, it's a bit more detailed, right? A position in financial services where I can learn and progress in my career.
Too wordy.
Everyone wants to learn and progress in their career. What makes you different from the next guy or gal? A management training position at Bank of America. Now that was bold because they're like, I want a job with you, Bank of America. I can't give that target resume to Regions. I can't give it to Capital One. I can't give it to anybody else, right?
You could change.
So they are just being very targeted in their approach. But from what I've seen in my 2 years in this position right now, in hospitality, you do not need an objective. For fresh out of college, entry level, you don't need it. Okay? In your education section, absolutely spell out your degrees. You don't want to see the letters BA, BS on your resume. Okay? Use the reverse chronology. So if you attain an associate's degree at another institution before coming to the University of Memphis, you should have the University of Memphis first, and then put the next college where you attained that associate's degree. You earned it. Put it on there. Now, if you just started some credits there and you didn't finish, then you can't put that school on your resume in the education section. That's like being unethical. You didn't earn anything there. Okay? And spell out the proper name of your degree, major, and minor. Some of you forget your minors, and some of you have really impressive minors. Or you have a minor in something that just shows how well-rounded you are as a person. Like I've met business school students who also have like music minors, and I'm like, wow, you're an interesting person. Like you're different, you know. And I like to see that. Include your graduation date or expected graduation date, not the dates of attendance. So I'm going to give you an example because we have these kind of students. I've been taking one class a semester for maybe 8 years now. If I put my start date and my expected graduation date, that makes me look bad. It's not marketing me well. So just put the expected, or we use the word anticipated graduation date on your resumes. And that's just by month and year. You don't have to put the day of the week like May 5th, 2019. Don't put the date. Just put the month and year. Include your GPA if it's 3.0 or higher. Think about it. Say I have a 2.4. It says you're average, that you could be doing better, but you're not. Do I want to hire that person who could be doing better, but is not? No. So anything 3.0 or higher, absolutely. Put it on your resume. Add awards, honors, and scholarships. And if you have more than 3 awards, honors, and scholarships, create a section that says awards, honors, and scholarships. And then put that under there. Okay. Absolutely include study abroad experiences. That promotes your global intercultural fluency, which is one of the NACE career competencies. So if you're going to Spain or Costa Rica, if you're going to Switzerland or Italy, once you come back from those experiences, go ahead and update your resume. Guys, your resume is a living, breathing document. You are going to make updates to it continuously throughout your life. And one thing, if you ever looked at my business folder on my computer at home, I have a resume, like I have resumes going back in time like you wouldn't believe. So the easiest thing to get into the habit of is save your resume as your full name, put the word resume, and then put the month and year. Okay, so this way you know which one you've used. It's an easy trick, it works for me, I'm sharing that with you, and it's free. Okay, here we go. Here's an example of the education section that someone had on their resume. It worked. They named the full name of the school. The good thing here is that in this greater Memphis area, the Kemmons Wilson School is recognized. The like, people know the Kemmons Wilson name in the city of Memphis, right? So to have that on your resume, that's a good thing. Bachelor of Science in Education, this is for our sport and leisure management majors, all right, and the expected graduation. Now, it would have been edited to just graduation because May 2018 has passed, and that GPA is impressive, so put that on there. Here's a great trick if you don't have a lot of experience, but you have a lot of knowledge in the industry of your pursuit. Place a related coursework section right underneath your education. Only list the only list the classes that are applicable to that industry. So say I was doing this in hospitality, right? Am I gonna put intro to astronomy, one of my gen eds? No, won't put that. But will I put hospitality law?
Yes.
Absolutely. See the difference? So what you're selling is the fact that you have knowledge in that industry. You may not have the experience yet, you may not have done any jobs in it, but you know it. So this is a really great trick. So I have some examples here. Here's a nursing student, and her related coursework is human anatomy, intro to health professions. I actually don't like the intro to health. I think it sounds basic. I wish you would have chosen a higher level course there. Wellness concepts, health trends and issues, microbiology, ethics and law, nutrition. Those are all towards her higher, it's targeted to her industry. Any questions about the related coursework?
Not that,
Yes.
but before that, so like since we're all in the Kemmons school, and if we were getting a job or trying to get a job in like an actual like full hospitality place like a resort or something, should we put, since we've been accepted into the school of hospitality, should we put that?
Yes. So the question was, for those of you who didn't hear it, like if I'm going outside of and I'm kind of paraphrasing, if you're going outside of the Memphis market, should you still put that you went to a hospitality school? Absolutely. Because they're gonna say, oh, this person understands the industry to another level than the average person applying for this job. In your experience section, include full-time, part-time work, volunteerism. Some of you are leaders of RSOs, and you've had to do all this work for your RSO, and you're just listing it as an activity, when it can be listed as a job, all right? It's something that you do, that you gain experience in, that has a lot of transferable skills. I'm looking at you, because you'll probably fall into the suits, so you might need to do an update, right? Any self-employment, if you're entrepreneurial and you run your own business, hey, put that. Some students are like, oh no, I just do that, as a thing to make money. And I'm like, well, how much are you making doing it? I had one student say, oh, I grossed about $11,000 last year. Okay, well, honey, put that down, okay?
Good job.
Like, that's pretty impressive. As a college student, you have your own business making that much money on your own. That shows entrepreneurialism. She had to market her own business. She had to design her own website. That's impressive stuff. So don't sell yourself short. In some cases, people like to do a related experience and additional experience. Like they're like, this is what pertains to what you're doing, but I'm going to give you some additional things that I've done just so that you know. If you need to create that, that's absolutely fine. So here go my key action verbs. Okay. So conducted, tested, developed, redesigned, provided, hired, prepared, presented. Those are all much stronger than responsible for or duties included. So don't use responsible for, don't use duties included. And I have a cheat sheet to give you of this kind of language. So in this sample experience section, this is a nurse. So she assists nurses with care of approximately 40 patients. I like that she's quantified how many patients she deals with on average. That's pretty good. Anytime you can insert numbers and percentages, it makes you really sound like you know what you're talking about, right? Work with a patient population that includes great psychological disorders. Takes a whole nother level of knowledge, understanding, grit, and perseverance, to be quite honest, when you're dealing with people with psychological disorders. Escort patients to rooms, process admissions and discharges. And she did all this as an intern. I'm impressed by that. Here on the resume now, we're talking about a nurse, and that's where it's pointing up there, talking about a nurse. She has nursing experience at St. Augustine, St. Vincent's, and Happy Days Nursing Care. But even her volunteer experience is impressive because she's tied it to the targeted market. Hospice of Northeast Florida, American Heart Association, American Red Cross. Those are all health-related agencies. So think about that. Like if you're a student in HSMAI, definitely put that on your resume, right? Because it's targeted towards hospitality. Good stuff to know. So here, I'm gonna try to make eye contact with you all again because I don't want to see this. Right? Do not use personal pronouns on your resume. No I, me, my, we. That you can use on your cover letter, but not on your resume. We got that? We're good? We're crystal? We're clear? I don't want to see I on anyone's resume. Okay. So, an incorrect way of saying something. While working at Whataburger, I supervised 5 workers. I wish I had like a sound effect. Like some big red X come up. All right. Supervised 5 sales staff members, monitored efficiency, that's much stronger, right? Incorrect, as a worker at Acme, I programmed all computers. Again, sound effect. Program computers using JavaScript and C++. Oh, now I know the names of the software you use. That's impressive. Because what if I use JavaScript and C++ at my company, and now I know, oh wait, maybe this is something I can have this person help us with. A lot of times our students are too brief in their description. They don't say enough. So created database is not enough. But created sales database with access to keep track of inventory. Now I know another computer program you used and the purpose of its use to track inventory. So that's a qualifying bulleted statement. Placed orders, you know, this could be an order for pizza, this could be an order for whatever, right? I don't know. But if you say it like manage inventory control systems and place product orders to reduce loss of product and increase revenue, oh, you said something about revenue, I'm paying attention. That's a buzzword. So that's good. Some of you are like really into it and I love it. Thank you for that energy. So here's a sample student experience for our Tiger Talent Ambassadors, the students who assist us in career services with career development of other students, all right? Provide instruction, orientation, and counseling to students and alumni on career development issues. Offer individual resume and cover letter reviews and assistance to students and alumni. What I like about the students and alumni is because it showcases that they know how to work with an older demographic. People who've been in the industry now have come back to utilize our resources. And by the way, you too, after you graduate, because the University of Memphis is so invested in your success, alumni do come back and use career services. Coach students to develop short and long-term job seeking strategies and career plans. So that talks about a lot of critical thinking, problem solving, research taking place, because I've got to listen really well to hear what are your interests. All right, let me share some resources with you based on what you're telling me. Okay. Operate Simplicity software to properly track student and employer engagement. You see how we put Simplicity in italics? Because otherwise it looks like a typo, because that's not how you spell simplicity. But that's the name of the software. So that's the trick I was talking about earlier. Additional categories you can put on your resume include honors, activities, skills, any student leadership, volunteer work. You don't have to have them all, okay? But if it's targeted to the industry you want want, or you wanna showcase some talents and skill set, then definitely put it. Alright. Especially these leadership positions, alright, these leadership positions, I see what students have to do. Tracking student attendance, managing budgets, right? Recruiting new members, reporting back to the SLI office, you know, progress being made. Like, this is a lot of work, guys. This is a management job that you have, but you just don't realize it, so I'm telling you, put the student leadership on your resume. Okay? Any relevant technical skills, absolutely put that. And I apologize for skipping over that. Honors and awards. All right. Some scholarships are relevant. Some scholarships are not. All right. I do love it if a student attained a State of Tennessee Hope Scholarship and they've kept it. Because in my opinion, almost anyone can get the Hope, right? But not everybody can keep the Hope. Right? Because if your grade point average drops, then you lose it. So if you've had it long term, that's a good one to keep long term. So here's an example of the honors and awards section. And I really want to point this out because this is a mistake that I still see being made on the first resumes coming in, despite my putting this in workshops. I need you to pay attention, right? Put the date that you did the thing or received the scholarship or award. And what I mean by date is just the month and the year. It's not enough to just list what you received and not tell us when. Right? So please put dates, be consistent. And sometimes because of the workload, and I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes because of the workload that I have, you know, as long as you have the dates up top and you didn't put I'm like, fine, I gotta move on to the next one, right? But this makes you stand out better if you pay that kind of attention to detail. Any questions about that? So sample activities, this person put Vice President of Programming, American Cross Auxiliary, 2011 to present. They put Chair, Student Nurse Association, and the dates. Volunteer, Race for the Cure, and the dates. So be consistent with that. In your skills section, what kind of skills am I talking about in the skills section? Now I'm gonna test you guys, because I said it already.
Does it involve your major
No,
or the job?
your skills. So Microsoft, so the computer skills, and what other skills would I be talking about in the skills section? You may not know this. The ability to speak any other languages. Okay, so language and computer are the two biggest skills you can put in your skills section. Right. If you speak another language, again, that relates to your global intercultural fluency. So, if you're conversant, now I am going to say this because I've seen it once, I've seen it twice now, and it puzzles me. You can't almost be fluent in a language, right? You either are fluent or you're not. Maybe you're conversant, maybe you can speak the language, but you're not really good at writing the language. So then just put conversant. Use the right terminology. Right? And up ahead I have another example of this language barrier that I see on resumes. I think we're good here. Here's an example of what they put, and this is a tech, this was a STEM major's resume that we pulled this from, so they had to get really specific. They had to talk about the computer languages they know how to operate in, okay, the applications they use, as well as the machinery. Because this is a STEM major, right? STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, they have to be very specific, all right? I'm actually not asking our hospitality majors to go into the machinery use because we're all using pretty much like opera software in our hotels. It's pretty basic what we're using. Salesforce is another big one. Right? In this language section though, I allowed the student to put basic knowledge of German. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because for this targeted resume, he was applying for a study abroad experience in Germany. It applied. But he was like, well, I'm not conversant, I'm not fluent, but I know some. And I'm like, okay, so we're gonna put basic knowledge of. But that was for that targeted resume. So I can't stress like the target, because he's gonna have to take that off for the next job he applies for, unless he's trying to work for like Volkswagen or some like German-based company, right? So here, there's a related skills section, and they put things like engineering, computer languages, software, hardware, and internet. You can add that if you want, but in hospitality, I don't necessarily think it's really needed. Sections to avoid, there are quite a few of them, and then there are like a whole lot of exceptions to the rule. So please pay attention to this, all right? Personal information other than contact info. So personal information, yes, you just wanna have your contact info, but if you're in theater or in dance, like you have to have that extra stuff. You have to have your weight, eye color, height, all that stuff matters in theater and dance. Okay, your political affiliation, your race or ethnicity, your parental status, your marital status, your hobbies. Back in the day, you used to always put your hobbies on your resume. And you'll still find resume samples out there on the internet, okay, that have hobbies listed. You don't do that anymore. Like my first resume, I had my hobbies, softball, yeah, I had my hobbies there, okay? You don't put your age, you don't put your religion, okay? But now I'm gonna tell you some exceptions to the rule. So, let's say I am applying for a job at the Salvation Army Croc Center, and I happen to teach a Bible study group of kids at my church. Do I want to mention my Bible study group to the Salvation Army Croc Center on my resume? Yes or no? Why? Okay. It's a religiously affiliated organization. So put it, right? So there are exceptions to the rule. Say I was a student in EMOC, which is Empowered Men of Color, that's a student group on campus. And I'm applying for a position at the National Civil Rights Museum. Am I gonna put that? Yeah, it applies to that targeted employee. So I say all this for you to use the critical thinking to assess whether or not you should put some more personal information on your targeted resume. You make that decision. You know who you're applying for. Okay? Any questions about this? Because I do have students like, but wait, I think I want to put this on my resume, but I'm not sure. Now's a good time to ask. It's a safe place. Don't worry. No? Okay. Please do not use a resume wizard or some online thing that you download and you fill in the characters in a field and then it populates your resume. That's a resume wizard. They're awful because they create too much white space, and then when you come to me or you send it to me to edit for you, I'm spending all my time on the formatting and all the little glitches in like how to make something fit, where it would have been easier had you just started with a blank document. Right? I know some of you have used, I'm not gonna make eye contact. I know some of you have used some resume wizards in here, all right? And I've literally battled through them, and it's okay, I forgive you, all right? But it's easier to start from a blank white document and go from there. Or, I have a Word document that was started as a blank white document, and in fact, I can show it to you because we made it super easy. If you were to go to Career Services on Memphis.edu, we're trying to make it easier for our students to give us a better first draft. That's part of what we're doing. I don't know why it went to your door. Isn't that weird? So in our resumes and cover letters, on this page, so we're on career services, alright? On here, we're starting to put sample resumes for each of our talent communities. So you can tell your friends too. I put a sample resume up here for students. So you see in this one, I didn't put the full address, right? This is easy because now you can download it, you can save as Microsoft Word, and then literally just type right over it. Right, that's how you can do this, because it is a PDF because I didn't want things to shift, okay? So this is a tool that I want you to, if you do not have a resume yet, you know you have your resume due, is it due in another week, Professor Flohr?
They're gonna do the first draft this weekend, it's due the following week.
Okay, so use this resource for your first draft, right? Because this is going to help you. So are we going to use Resume Wizards, guys?
No, like that.
Okay, please don't. Because I spend all my time reformatting it instead of focusing on the content or asking you questions to make the language a little bit stronger. Okay. So proofread. Avoid all your personal and controversial information that we don't want on there. Avoid paragraphs and personal pronouns. Remember, no I, me, my, we. Right. Articulate transferable skills and accomplishments, and let career services help you out. All right. Ultimately, our goal in this class is to get you approved into the Kemmons Wilson School resume book. I'm going to be completely transparent. There are benefits to being in here, right? The biggest benefit is when employers contact me and they're like, oh, we're looking for someone who, I go to that book first. And I'm like, oh, let me just see who might qualify. And then next thing you know, I'm making an introduction, right? That's what I mainly use the resume book for, but employers do have access to the book if they choose to. So they can go in there and look. So when you're opting into the resume book, that's what you're doing. You're opting in for us to reference it at different points for different reasons. All right. That is on Career Services page 2. Just so you know, that key action verb list that I was telling you about is a cheat sheet. Has all these great lead verbs that you can start your bullet points with. All right. We even have a resume checklist for you. So say you finish your resume and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get a good grade in Mr. Flohr's class. Just go through the checklist, all right? If you're meeting the majority of the checklist, you're probably gonna get a good grade on your resume. Here's another great tool, free for you to use. It's called ResScore, right? We have it as a link on the Career Services page. You upload your resume as a PDF, and it gives you a grade. And it'll say A-, B+, whatever. Now here's the trick to this. Go on that same site and click on the recommended jobs tab. Because if it is recommending a job that you have absolutely no interest in, did you create a strong targeted resume? No. You have to go back to the drawing board, right? I had a student who, it was actually an assistant. Like she wanted to get out of being an assistant, all right? The ResScore job was just offering her a lot of like front desk clerk, assistant kind of positions. She wanted to get into management. I was like, well, did you not take a look at the score? Because the score was good, but when you look at the jobs, it's recommending they're off. So your score was good for that same kind of job you have. But we're trying to get to the next level. So really, if you do this ResScore thing and you upload your resume and it gives you a grade and you're like, yeah, A-, awesome. Right? Take a look at the jobs, because that's going to be the thing that tells you whether or not it's targeted enough for the industry you're trying to go for. Right? I know I'm running low on time. Any other questions? I went right to 10:13. I'm pretty good. I was told to 10:15. All right. So, let me just talk you through these steps really quickly, and this is where I might go over. How many of you get stuck on how to upload things on TigerLink? All right, enough for me to want to go through it. So, don't know how to find TigerLink? Meet my best friend, the search bar on the memphis.edu page. Just type in TigerLink, it's going to get you there, okay? And then once you type on TigerLink, either here or there, doesn't matter, you're going to log in, okay? Does anyone want to come up and actually try to log in? show you how. So you're a current student. So a lot of students see this field and they automatically start typing here. But that is for alumni only. So she's going to go up here and log in with UID and password. Yeah. So once she's on TigerLink, so it's an interactive system, right? There's an algorithm involved. The more you engage with it and say what jobs you're interested in, what jobs you're not interested in, the more it's gonna modify it and send you more targeted jobs. So if you're never interacting with the system, it's never gonna send you stuff that's targeted to you. It's the same way LinkedIn works. Okay. So do you want to do the promote me or no thanks?
You can just hit me.
Okay. So this is her homepage. To send your resume to me ultimately, after you do your first draft in this class, after you do your first draft, because you're going to critique each other's this way, Shintorius and I, who's our Tiger Talent Ambassador there sitting in the back, when we get your first round of resumes to review, they're going to be that much better than everybody else's because you've taken the time to critique and you use everything you learned in this class. All right? You're going to go to resume and other documents. You have to opt into the resume book. Don't put it under my documents because that puts it on your profile, and Shintorius and I will never know that we have to review it that way. The system doesn't tell us that you put it there. You have to go into opt-in books. And once you go into opt-in books, here in this section, she's already submitted a resume, that's why there's something here, okay? In this section, it would be like upload resume. And you click on it, you upload the file, and you submit, right? We get it in our queue. The system notifies us. And we prioritize the ones that are in our queue. If you try to email me your resume, it's gonna sit in my inbox. Because my department policy is to focus first on what's in the resume book, in the opt-in on TigerLink. So don't get mad at me if you send it to me as an email when I'm telling you to put it on TigerLink and opt into the resume book. Any questions about TigerLink? Yes.
I know if you log into it the first time, it asks you to like do all
Thank you
the
for asking that.
like account questions.
Yeah.
There was one where it was asking about like city.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to put there? Because I put like.
So because there's an algorithm involved here, right, and it's going to start sending you jobs. When you first log in, if you've never logged into the system, you have to create a profile, right? And it's going to say what kind of jobs, where are you willing to work? So you're going to have to pick the geographic regions where you're considering employment, right? And if you're saying I don't want to go to New York City, I don't want to go to Northeast, if you don't pick Northeast, it's not going to send you that job. That's how it's set up to work. I don't control that. This is a part of the Simplicity software. Right. Before I leave, and I'm sorry, Jean Marie, I'm going to just take one more minute. Shin, can you come on up?
Yes.
So Shintorius Turner is one of our KWS students. She has recently come on board the Career Services team. She is your Tiger Talent Ambassador, all right? So she's with me about 20 hours a week. She's helping me get students ready for interviews, critiquing mock interviews, critiquing resumes. She's been on IHG First Look, so if you have questions about that, ask her as well. You'll see her at career fairs, so if you see her around and you have a question, she's another resource for you. And thank you for being on my team, because I really appreciate my help. Okay? And that's all, guys. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I think you're gonna get a little break, right?
We can get like a 5-minute break and then we're gonna